Now I mentioned healthcare and how that's going to change along with education. So let's say that you are ready to have surgery. And some of these apps and projectors, they rotate automatically, some don't. So I can see it correctly here, you can't see it correctly there. It's on its side, but you can get the point of it. So let's say your surgeon was going to work on your pancreas and could not quite remember where it was. I would encourage them to get this app. It was, I think, $3 or $4. And if he touches that button right there, the little Nike symbol, he will get all the details he needs about the pancreas. And if that is not enough, tell him to check out the 3D version, and he can see it rotate, and he can read all the names of the parts and things like that. A very inexpensive way to make sure your surgeon knows what he's doing. Now, these kind of things will be used tremendously for training, for education of doctors. They will be used for education of patients. If some doctor was going to operate on a pancreas and you pull this up and show the patient exactly what the procedure was going to be, that's better than those ugly charts on the wall and all the other things that they have in the office. But third, if the doctor was going to do surgery, he could actually show on the screen the bone that was going to be repaired from the x-rays and the MRIs of the patient, and could do it not dragging a patient over in front of a computer, but sitting at the bedside and holding the iPad. That's done today. Those are the kinds of ways that medicine has changed. Healthcare, and I've been in the healthcare field for over 30 years, and healthcare has looked for 30 years for ways to increase access to information for doctors, and finally, with tablet computers of the touchscreen type that are available today, they have found that methodology, or that method. We'll go on, and of course, let's say you're out in a clinic and you wanted to do some tests and didn't have all the equipment, you could easily pull up the eye chart. Again, this one doesn't rotate on through the projector. But if I had you read the letters on this eye chart and thought that you were cheating because you memorized the eye chart before you came, I would just change the letters on you and fix your. And if you had trouble reading English letters, we'd hit, of course, the E chart, and then there's another variation of this. I can do tests on whether you're colorblind. I can do audio tests by letting you listen to earphones, and the system will go through the beep, beep, beep things, and you say left or right, just like a standard ear test that you might hear. Just a few of the examples. I did a search one time and came up with a list of 210 applications that were available in healthcare, and I put it on the screen. And then I said, look at the upper left-hand corner of that screen, and it said page 1 of 3 with the letter A. So there were 3 pages of A letters in the healthcare listing, and 25 more pages with other similar quantities. So there's tens of thousands of applications in the healthcare field. Of course, maps are important. Oh, I wanted to check out the parking lot last night before I came in, and you can see where I was going to park and where the entrance was to the building. So the standard Google Maps and the standard navigation tools are all available with Street View, just like you had your laptop or something else. But if you want to look at other kinds of maps, here's another one. You have seen the National Geographic maps, and this is what they look like. Perfect, pretty, and they just sit there. And again, you can get the fold-out versions, you can get the big ones, but they are nothing more than a static map. But what if you want to look at some information about Libya? We're hearing a lot about Libya, so we can rotate it. We can zoom in, we can go clear down to street level on the one single map rather than having to deal with a set of different maps. That was probably a $4 application, just guessing. Now we all want to know what's going on in the stock market, and I'm anxious. It's 8:35, so we'll check and see how it's doing. And let's take a look. The Dow is up $8.55. Google up a couple of dollars. Apple, my favorite fruit company, they're down 42 cents. All of these kind of apps, dozens of them, are available for free, and I've got 3 different ones installed here. This particular one, I just like the display and the user interface. And that's going to be a huge definer of what is the best product, is who's made the best user interface. I have renamed the last 30 years of computers And I call it the ugly age of computers. If you ever see the box of cables that I have and that you have that are used to connect all your gadgets together and install a new program and take 2 weeks or 2 months to learn it and have thousands of commands available, and it gets worse every year, that age is over once we go into mobile devices like this. The apps are simple to use. Things are mostly wireless. They're easy to install. They're inexpensive. And if anybody ever described programming in the last 30 years that way, I would be shocked. When I show this to somebody, they get excited and start jumping up and down. And I had a couple of people, friends over yesterday that had never seen one, and they were laughing, and one of them was completely disinterested in computers, and she thought it was so much fun. And I had to remind her it's a real computer, number one, and number two, I've never, ever gotten that reaction in all my lifetime of computers from a lay person saying, this is fun. And so then I have to remind people that it's really a business device as well. Again, here is a periodic chart. Now, I think most of you remember a periodic chart that looked sort of like this. And again, hung on the wall, didn't do anything. You could read something, 1 page of information. But here, every item that I select, it shows the details of it up in the upper left-hand corner. And if I really want more details, I can hit another button and read all about that item. The nice part is, I think they just discovered a couple of new elements. This thing could be updated easier than that chart on 1 million classroom walls. And if I'm worried about a substance and think that it may be radioactive, I can always check that out. Whoops, radioactive right there. Those are the radioactive ones. They're all down along the bottom. So if you ever see any of those, like plutonium or neptunium or uranium, you can check how long they will be radioactive, from 10 seconds to 10 million years. And of course, we're all interested in math. We like to keep up on things like geometry, surfaces. We can scroll through and read all about all our favorite subjects. I was a math teacher, so I kind of enjoy this stuff. But if you're not interested in that kind of math, you can go into this kind. We're going to add fractions. Well, that's too easy. We know what that one is. Maybe we should divide fractions. Does anybody remember the rule for dividing fractions? Invert and multiply. Okay, you can handle that. But here you type in your guess and it'll tell you what the answer is. Now, when I said type, people say, well, yeah, I don't like those small keyboards, and I never like to type on a BlackBerry, or I'm used to typing on the BlackBerry, or whatever. What I say to them is three or four things. One, if I really want to do some typing, this is the standard built-in software keyboard on this device. Number two, if I was really serious and sitting down writing a report or updating my blog, I would take a keyboard, and there's dozens of different keyboards. This is a standard Apple keyboard, which is wireless. If I turned it on, then I could start using it, start typing, and it would show up on the iPad and on the iPhone if I wanted to type a message. So this keyboard is available. Now, some people would say, well, I don't like that, that's two gadgets. I've got an iPad, I've got a separate keyboard. I would say great, because I don't use that keyboard a lot when I'm traveling. I like the advantage of having the lightest weight device, the iPad, without having to drag along a keyboard. But the keyboard and the iPad both fit inside this little portfolio. I need them. The third thing I would say is no keyboard is the best keyboard. And if you haven't tried Drag and Dictate, Drag and Search, all the Google voice applications, you ought to try them. It's very, very easy to use, very easy to learn, and in a very few minutes you could be dictating messages. And I did it for the people who were helping me set up here. I just said a few sentences, and all of a sudden the message pops up, and you hit the email. So to me, the best keyboard is no keyboard. These keyboards here are adequate. There's another thing about keyboards. There's a subject of haptics, H-A-P-T-I-C-S. The ability to make a keyboard, a smooth keyboard like this, feel like it has keys. If you were to touch an area on a haptic keyboard, it would give some feedback that made it feel like there's a bump there simulating a key when it's a perfectly flat keyboard. There's some keyboards with some of that now. I anticipate a lot of that will come out in the future.